Welcome back, everybody. Today's video, we're going to continue our rogue, the one that we did the barrage build for in the early game. We're going to show you exactly how this rogue build evolved. So right now, this rogue build has now become a Vampiric Barrage Rogue. Vampiric. What do you mean by Vampiric? Well, it means I'm getting my life back. We have a sort of lifesteal mechanic happening here, making this a very comfortable rogue build. I'm not really feeling too scared when I'm running around compared to before where I was, kind of a glass cannon. Now I'm feeling quite comfortable dealing a lot of damage, but also getting a lot of health back in return, making our survivability so good. So why don't we dive a little bit deeper into this, and let's start off with the skill tree. How about it? So right at the top, as usual, same as the prior build, we start off with puncture. We go to enhanced puncture and we get the fundamental puncture that gives us vulnerable when it hits. Obviously, we're going to be taking barrage, as many points as we can, so 5 points, and then we're also getting another 3 points from our equipment currently. We're getting enhanced barrage, obviously, and we're getting improved barrage. Every third cast of barrage makes enemies vulnerable. So we're working with vulnerability a ton here. We're basically just caring about keeping things vulnerable so we can do more damage to them. Surprise, surprise, every single build pretty much runs vulnerability like that. The next two skills right over here, they're the stars of the show. So sturdy, it's pretty good. It gains us 12% close damage reduction. And this thing is going to help us be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more tanky. The build is going to feel a little bit more comfortable because of it. But the real star is siphoning strikes. This is how we become vampiric. This is how we're getting our health back. So heal for 3% of your maximum life when you critically strike close enemies. So continuing along, we take 1 point in Shadow Step. We don't even care about the extra stuff. The Shadow Step is just a get me out of jail free card. So the reason we care about this is not for the damage, but because it makes us unstoppable. So unstoppable, as it says here, characters have all control impairing effects removed. We're going to take 3 points into weapon mastery. So this one we care about because primarily we're using crossbows. So we're getting an increased critical strike damage of 15%. Here we're taking 1 point in concussive. So after knocking back or knocking down an enemy, you gain increased crit strike chance. We don't super care about this one, but we care more about this next part. When you critically strike a dazed enemy, they are knocked down. So we have ways to make enemies dazed. And we're going to go over that when we get to the armor pieces and the aspects. But when we critically strike a dazed enemy, they're going to get knocked down. So we're going to be kind of buying ourselves a little bit of breathing room by knocking down enemies this way as well. We're going to have Dark Shroud, 1 point. And enhanced Dark Shroud, and then countering Dark Shroud. While you have at least 4 active shadows, you gain critical strike chance, 8%. So this one is important. We're not actually running Dark Shroud on the skills list at the bottom. We are, however, running it through an aspect, because as you can see, we have 2 purple balls kind of going around the player right now. These are the Dark Shrouds, and they come from an aspect. They are incredibly good defensively, and that's exactly why we're running it. We're going to take 1 point in Poison Trap, 1 point in Enhanced Poison Trap, and then countering Poison Trap, which has a 30% chance to reset your imbuement skill cooldowns when activated. This is the primary reason why we're running Poison Trap. We have 3 points in the Exploit passive, which deals 18% increased damage, but I have 6 points here, 3 from gear, so I deal double that. I deal 36% increased damage to healthy and injured enemies, and then we're doing Malice, deal 9% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. That's a no-brainer. We're going to do Shadow Crash, has up to a 10% chance to stun for 0.5 seconds when you do shadow damage, and then Consuming Shadows. Each time you kill an enemy with shadow damage, you generate 30 energy. This is key because this is kind of what replenishes our energy stores and it prevents us from running low. We're obviously going to take as many points in Shadow Imbuement as we can. We're going to take Enhanced Shadow Imbuement and then Blended Shadow Imbuement, which makes a primary explosion that makes enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. We're going to take Precision Imbuement. Imbued skills gain 9% increased critical strike chance. Again, this helps us with our healing. Then we're gonna go here. So up to a 30% chance to gain 8 energy. 3 points here. When Poison Trap or Death Trap activates, you gain 12% increased critical strike chance against vulnerable enemies. Okay, so we're running Death Trap and Poison Trap, and the reason why we run Death Trap in all 3 points here is, again, for crowd controlling enemies. You know, it helps us clump everything up, gets everybody real close, and then we can critically strike everybody, heal ourselves, and destroy everybody. Now, the key passive that we're running is Precision. Alright guys, so now that we've talked about the skills, let's talk about the actual aspects that we're running on the build, because these aspects are very key. Without the aspects, you can't really make this build work. So on our helmet, we're running the aspect where you gain increased armor when you deal any form of damage. So this is the base roll from the Codex of Power, but obviously I'm storing a couple of these better rolls that I found just on items for the late game. So that way we can get even more damage reduction once we get a better build happening. So this one isn't super critical to the build, but it is important for the defensive aspect and the survivability. Next we have this. Critical strikes with marksman skills have up to a 48% chance to grant a free Dark Shroud Shadow. Now, marksman skills are like our Barrage and Puncture, so we're always spamming Barrage, right? So we have almost a 50% chance with a critical strike to grant a free Dark Shroud Shadow, but because we have such a high crit strike chance, we're going to be popping these Dark Shroud Shadows all the time. And the good thing about the Dark Shroud Shadows, where are they? So they give us 8% damage reduction per active shadow, and we can have up to 5 of them. So we can have up to 40% damage reduction per active shadow, and on top of that, we're getting critical strike chance increase when we have at least 4 active shadows. So that's pretty good. This is, I would say, an incredibly key aspect of the build. This is, again, for survivability purposes. Next, on the hands, we have skills deal up to 19% increased damage based on your available primary resource when cast. Now, a lot of the time, we're running pretty high energy because of the synergy with the shadow imbuement, as we talked about earlier. You're shadow imbuing something, you're exploding an entire clump of enemies, and you're gonna get all your energy back. So then when you cast another skill, you're gonna get this 19% damage increase next time you cast that skill. This is quite important to the build as well for damage purposes. Next, dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has up to a 41% chance to daze them. Ooh, remember we talked about daze earlier, right? So we're making everything vulnerable through basically every kind of skill and ability that we have, and then dealing direct damage to anybody who is vulnerable makes them dazed. Now, once we make them dazed, then we critically strike against them. We have a chance to knock them down. That's why we put 1 point in that skill. Then we have Barrage's arrows have a 42% chance to split into 2 arrows whenever they ricochet. This is a huge part of the build. I have some perfect rolls of this where I could get 50%, but again, I'm saving that for the end game build. This is obviously S tier for this build. This kind of makes and breaks it. With the amulet, we got basic skills gain 45% attack speed. I have a couple of these perfect rolls, so I was able to put one in here. Basic skills just allow us to attack quicker with puncture to get our combo points. Next, killing a vulnerable enemy grants you 50% increased energy regeneration for 4 seconds. Everybody's going to be vulnerable, so we're always going to be having that increased energy regeneration all the time. We have your imbuement skill effects have 20% increased potency against vulnerable enemies. So this is huge because we're running shadow imbuement all the time, so this makes them 20% more effective against vulnerable enemies. And then this is again S tier for this build. So we're going to be getting an extra almost 30% increased damage when spending 3 combo points. Now, how do you get a combo point? All you have to do is basically just attack. So right now when I attack this guy, I got my 3 combo points. The 3 little bars at the bottom are filled up, and I'm ready to spend it by using my next barrage. So that's basically all we're going to be doing. We're going to be getting the 3 combo points and attacking with barrage at all times, because that maximizes the damage output that we're able to get with this build. Now that we've spoken about the aspects on the armor, let's talk about what are some key affixes that we want to keep an eye out for on all of our armor slots. So here for the helmet, we obviously want the +3 ranks to shadow imbuement. I'm not sure if in the ancestral version we'll be able to get +4, but ideally we definitely want that. We want anything that gives us an increase to total armor, because we are not that tanky. So we're trying to get as much armor as we can. If you can see right now, I have 5,000 armor going into World Tier 4. So hopefully, you know, we can reach that 9-10k mark by the end of World Tier 4. In the chest piece, we definitely want damage reduction and damage reduction from close enemies. We also have +20% imbuement skill damage. For the hands, we want increased critical strike chance. We want +3 ranks of barrage. That is mandatory, absolutely. We want attack speed increase, and we want critical strike damage with imbued skills. These are all S tier. For the weapon, we want vulnerable damage. We're making everybody vulnerable as it is. Dexterity, which increases the for the amulet, we're gonna want the 3 ranks of the exploit passive, because that gives us an extra 18% damage to healthy and injured enemies. And then we're gonna want the extra armor. Energy cost reduction helps us keep our uptime with barrage. With the rings, ideally we want critical strike damage increase, damage to close enemies, because we're always staying close to everybody. We want critical strike chance. For the actual swords themselves, we're gonna want critical strike damage, damage to close enemies. So those are the key affix that we want to be running. Now let's talk about the Paragon board, because the Paragon board is important in these first couple of slots. Afterwards, you can kind of have some more flexibility of what you want to do. So we're gonna take this extra 20% damage rare node and go straight into the glyph, which gives us efficacy. That's the one that I've equipped here. I don't meet the intelligence requirements, but I definitely will be at some point. So the additional bonus, once you meet the intelligence requirements, is going to give you imbuement skill effects have 20% increased potency. This is again huge. We definitely need that. We then take the left path, taking again another flat 30% damage increase. We're going to go into the next board, which is the Cunning Stratagem board. And we're going to ignore the actual unique legendary note itself, and we're going to go straight for this, which gives us 28% core skill damage, because our core skill is really where all of our damage comes from. It's from barrage itself. And from there, we're going to go up. We're going to take another 28% core skill damage to get us dealing as much damage as we can. And then we're going to take another glyph. And this time we're going to put exploit. And we're going to definitely want to get the additional bonus that says when an enemy is damaged by you, doesn't matter how or what source of damage, they become vulnerable for 3 seconds. And then we're going to go here and get Lawless for a little bit of armor, get a little bit of tankiness, because we're going to need this strength slot to fulfill the strength requirements for this glyph. And this is kind of where we're at with the Paragon board. After that, we're going to be focusing on the same things, you know, damage to vulnerable enemies, increased core damage, flat damage increases. Ideally, in the next couple boards, we'd also take some slots that give us, you know, the 4% life increase, stuff like that, because we're going to need to become a little bit more tanky and survivable in World Tier 4 if we want to push it as far as possible. So how exactly does the gameplay work? Well, we're going to run into a fight, basically right like this. We're going to pop on our shadow imbuement. We're going to drop a poison trap, and then we're going to barrage. And everything's going to explode on the screen. As you see here, I'm going to be basically getting all my health back, so I can just stay close to these guys and gain the health back. It comes back really quick, especially when there's a huge mob around me. We're going to use a shadow step when we get into a pickle, and we're going to use it to basically get us out of that pickle so we become unstoppable. And if we ever have any issues, like if there's too many people around us, we're just going to pop the ultimate death trap, clump them all up, and then just absolutely obliterate. So that basically sums up the Vampiric Barrage Rogue build. It's ready for World Tier 4. I just did the World Tier 3 to the World Tier 4 capstone at level 58 just before filming this video. And I didn't have an issue at all. We were able to kill Elias in the first try, not even really struggling at all. And you're going to see it because I'm going to give you guys some bonus footage of killing monsters that were level 70 in the capstone dungeon. And then I'm going to show you the bonus footage of actually the Elias fight itself. It's a really fun build. you know, everybody's playing Twisted Blades, everybody's playing Penetrating Shot. So here's kind of my take on the Barrage build. I'm gonna keep leveling this up. Gonna do another video of this when we get to like level 80, level 90, so that you guys can kind of see what it's evolved to in the late game. But guys, if you enjoyed this video and you like my content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will definitely catch you guys next time with some more of this Diablo content. Season 1 is right around the corner. We're going to be going ham once it pops up, and we're going to definitely be doing probably a necromancer or a barbarian. Alright guys, so I'll catch you next time. See ya.
Time to return.